Morning, morning cafe, Monday through Saturday at 9:30. Yes, it's on Saturdays too. Please join us. And Qigong and Tai Chi and the Writers Group. Sunset on the Rim, The Gathering, and Cards and Games. We're thankful for the technology that allows us to meet both in person and virtually. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So unity is grounded in meditation and affirmative prayer, and we have trained prayer chaplains to support you. And prayer chaplains in person will be wearing a white and teal stole, and or they may be wearing something like this. I'm also a prayer chaplain, so if you have any prayer requests, you can let me know in the chat, and I will connect with you after the service. Let's see, you can also send your prayer requests to neil.unityofpayson@gmail.com. And we, at the prayer chaplains at Unity of Payson, will hold your prayer requests sacred and confidential, and we will pray with you for 30 days and then send your request to Silent Unity, where they will pray with you 24/7 for another 30 days. It's a very beautiful, very sacred process and practice. If you would like prayer support today and you're here in person, please tap a prayer chaplain on the shoulder after the service, and they will pray with you. So, I would say any questions, but I'm not going to say that. Unity of Payson's theme for May is letting go. And so we'll change the slide on that. And the bandwidth is a little slow today, so we still have the prayer slide up. But I'm going to talk about, here we go, the theme. Let's say the affirmation together. I accept and allow things to be as they are. I release what is not the truth of me. Unburdened, I flourish. Nice. Okay, today's speaker is Reverend Neal Worthington, and the talk title is Let It Grow. And now it's time for our metaphysical moment. And for our metaphysical moment, first I'd like to say that truth transcends our physical experience of life and of our world. So please join with me as we consider this expression of truth. And what I'm reading from is the daily word, which is freedom, May 15th, 2022. And here's the affirmation. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. I'll say that again. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. Each life has its share of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences and laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences also. This kind of spiritual housekeeping is my key to lasting freedom. By releasing blame and regret over and over again, if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past and limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind With gratitude, I bless the person I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person I am becoming. And from Galatians 5:13, for you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. And there's so many verses I can think of that speak to this truth that transcends our physical experience of this world. So remember that life is dynamic, and so are you. Bless what was and reach for what you are becoming. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And now it is time for our speaker, Rev Neal Worthington, to give his message to us.
Let it grow. If you've been with us throughout this month of May, you know that we are using the theme of letting go. And we began with let it be. We moved on to let it go. And now we're at let it grow. My wife says we should have one more and say let it glow, but we'll put a little of that glow in with the grow here. Anybody a gardener? Who does some gardening? I'm looking for hands here, and you can put your virtual hand up if you're able to do so. And I see that there are gardeners. 4.5 years ago, I moved to Payson. So I'm a relative newcomer around here compared with many of those who are in this room here. And some of you may never have been to Payson if you're with us virtually. So when I moved, I saw that there was a lot of gardening going on here in Arizona. I kind of didn't know about it because I haven't lived here before, but it's in my heritage. I grew up with a father who thought if he didn't have a half an acre for a garden, it wasn't worth doing. And so we always had bountiful gardens. And I grew up hoeing corn and weeding and learning bit by bit how to grow vegetables. It became a staple for us, and we would freeze, or my mother would freeze and can, and we had fruit all the way through the year. We had the harvest with us always because we had a lot from that garden. Well, when I did come to Payson, the first year when the season came around, I tried to plant a few things in the backyard. Watch out for the bunnies and the javelina. They're going to take care of everything unless it's really protected. And so I didn't have much luck that first year. The second year, I discovered, thanks to many here at Unity of Payson, the community garden here at Payson. We have a beautiful community garden. And so I got a plot in the community garden. Well, it has a big fence all around, so it's protected, and a lot of help along the way. When I did that, I got my plot. I began to plan. And I first of all went to Home Depot and got a nice gray Sterlite tub, because I knew I was going to have a lot of things for gardening. I was putting tools in there. I knew I was going to need some soaker hoses, and I got that. Little tags to mark what things were. And of course, long before I got that tub, I had been in the winter looking through seed catalogs so that I could get the seeds that I wanted. And then I sat down with graph paper. I really did this. I sat down with graph paper and I laid out my bed that I was going to plant. It was a wonderful, exciting time. And I had a measure of success that first year. I say a measure of maybe 30% success or 40, because I was still learning. But the idea of being able to till the soil, be able to watch things grow gripped me. And it stays with me to this day. 2 additional seasons I had, and I got better as I went along because I learned. Now I'm really getting better because I've thrown my lot in with Ram, and Ram has a beautiful organic farm about 12 miles south of here in Geisela. And he knows a lot too that I don't know. And so I have an opportunity to learn. But that growing process is important to me. And I'll refer to a few things in that growing process as we go through this message today. Let it grow, it is. And if I would have you remember anything today, I would say this: let it grow, plant, protect, and prune to have what you intend. Plant, protect, and prune. Not talking about the nurturing part of growing. We're talking about letting that plant do what that plant wants to do. Letting that seed become all that it has the potential to be. So let's start with the planting process. Of course, there's choosing the seed. When I looked through those seed catalogs for the first time, I wanted to choose exactly the seeds that I wanted, ones that I remembered from my youth and ones that just looked really good in the seed catalog. I thought it was going to be wonderful. So I began by choosing the seed. Well, right immediately, I'm going to make the parallel to our spiritual journey and choosing the seed for our spiritual journey. In doing that, I want to talk about consciousness. We use that term a lot. We talked about an uplifted consciousness or raising our consciousness. But consciousness is a little difficult to get your head around that term. And Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, defined consciousness as a number of things. And he said it's the ideas, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensation, and the knowledge that comprise everything. So it's a big bowl full of words and ways of approaching truth. Ideas, of course, that relates to not only our human ideas, but the divine ideas from which all of our human ideas have their source. Our thoughts, we talk about thoughts creating things, thoughts being what comes first. In consciousness, we do the work with thought, and then eventually we have the manifestation or the realization of that which we desire. And then there's emotions. Emotions that really make it come alive. If we have our thought coupled with emotion, then we're much, much closer to the realization of what we want. Interesting thing, and we'll get back to this, emotions are something you have a choice about as well. You got to think, well, no, I'm just overtaken by emotions, but hang in there. We're going to talk about that a little bit as we go along. And then, of course, there's sensations. Do we listen to our body? Do we listen to that sense of what's up for us? That from the gut even sense of things, that sensation, important part of it. And then also even that which we have known, that which we have learned, that which we have read, that which we came to know over maybe decades and decades in our life. So this is what consciousness is. And so we take one part of that, the thoughts and emotions, and we use that and equate that with the seed. And it's that seed that we place in the overall consciousness that will eventually become a plant and bear fruit. So it's thought and emotion that is that Cody? So we have a furry attendee.
He agrees.
That was an agreement? Thank you, Cody. Thought and emotion. We know we get to choose our thoughts. That's not an easy thing, however, because those thoughts go back and forth in our mind, a million of them, and we have also 500,000 ideas that spur those thoughts, and we can't seem to keep on track for what's the most important sometimes. We can't stay with it. Well, we get to choose those thoughts. Oh, is this a little bit of discipline? Yes, it is. Learning to choose our thoughts. So important to having what we desire to have. And then empowering that thought with emotion. There's a thing in dream reading, not dream reading, dream literature called lucid dreaming. I don't know if anybody knows about lucid dreaming. And I kind of equate this with emotions. Lucid dreaming is where you're having a dream, you kind of wake up and you say, I don't want the dream to go that way, and you give direction to that dream, and you go back to the dream state, and in fact, you change the course of that dream. I'd like to suggest that emotion is the same. When an emotion comes out, let's not just say, oh, that's what I have to accept. But let's take that emotion and see if we can tailor it a little bit so that it helps that thought that we have that we want to bring into realization to be empowered in the direction we want it to be empowered. So I challenge you to give a little tryout to this. When you have an emotion that you don't particularly like, see if you can just shift that a little bit. See if you can consciously choose an emotion that's going to help you realize that which you are thinking about. So we chose the seed, and we do that in our spiritual journey. We choose the thought and emotion. Then we often go and take the soil and work with it. We amend the soil, assuming, well, here in Arizona, the soil isn't necessarily always very rich, and so amending the soil is important if we would have a good growth. So we take that soil and we amend it. We put compost on it. We treat it in a number of ways to make sure that it's a fertile medium for growing what we want to grow. The same thing is true for us in our spiritual journey. What's the medium that we want to do? What do we want to do with our consciousness? Remember, the seed is the thought and emotion planted in consciousness. What do we want to do? How can we amend our consciousness so that we grow prolifically like we really want to do? And that the plant that is our spiritual journey will be well nourished all along the way. So amending the soil, choosing and amending the soil. And then the other thing that never works and didn't work for me in any of my gardening experiences, if I didn't take the seed out of the packet, nothing grew.
Amen.
I suggest that sometimes we don't even take the seed out of the packet. And so on our spiritual journey, that thought, let's get it out and into our world and into our experience. Take the seed out of the packet. So there's a bit of Buddhist logic that I like in this regard. It kind of goes like this. If you plant a lemon seed and you pray for mango fruit, it won't work. If you plant seeds of kindness, you can expect to reap kindness as well. Or put in whatever you want to put in. Plant seeds of peace, plant seeds of love, any of those 12 powers. If you plant those seeds, but if you don't choose the seed, and if you don't, as we talked about, amend the soil, make it rich, get that seed out of the packet, put it in the soil, you won't get the result that you look for. So choose your seed, plant it, nurture it a little bit, and allow it to grow. Let it grow. So back to our idea to start with, let it grow. Plant what you intend to harvest. Plant what you intend to harvest. So let's go on to one of the other things that help in our allowing of these seeds that are the instigator and the reason for our spiritual journey. Let's go and talk about them and how we have to protect them. We move to the protection area. Talked about the bunnies and the javelina. Well, one protection in the garden, of course, is a fence. If you go down to Shanti Olmsted, you're going to see rolls of fencing planned and ready to be put around so that as the harvest comes, you get to harvest it instead of somebody else who wants to harvest ahead of you, like a squirrel or a rabbit or a javelina. I don't know if you have javelinas down there, Ron, but I know you got other people that are ready to harvest, or other animals that are ready to harvest. So protect that thing. So how do you protect it? Well, in the garden, we may protect it from the heat of the sun, the cold of the frost. We might protect it from getting trampled on. It wouldn't happen in the community garden, but could happen. You could misstep and trample a plant when they had great expectations and hopes for it. We protect it from that trampling. We protect it by removing pests. You're probably familiar, if you're a gardener, with aphids or squash bugs or any of the like critters that keep our harvest to a minimum because the plant withers and perhaps even dies. So we protect them by taking soapy water and spraying it on the leaves of our plant to take care of the aphids, or even meticulously going to our squash plants, looking under the leaf and picking off those squash bugs that are there. The same is true for us in our spiritual journey. And what are the pests? I'd like to suggest 3. How about worry? Worry is a misuse of our imagination, of course. And if we spend our time with worry, it's like a pest that keeps the plant from growing, that keeps the spiritual journey from flourishing. How about complaining? How about complaining? This, that, the other thing. How often do we find ourselves in a rut with complaint after complaint after complaint until we finally realize, wait, this isn't doing what I want it to get done. That complaint is a pest. And then there's distraction. So easy to get distracted. I suggest that each of you, if you're like me, now you may not be, you may be further along than I am, have 1 or 2 or maybe a half a dozen distractions that keep you from being who you really are and doing what you are to do. They are pests. Get rid of the pests. That spiritual journey will flourish. So protect that new growth. And then we move on to pruning. The plant gets going. I just learned something from Ram. I thought there's a magical way of pruning something so it'll be just right, cutting in exactly the right place. And then if you're a master like Ram is, or some of the rest of you, you'll prune it exactly right and the plant will flourish and bear a lot of fruit. Well, Ram made it very simple. He said, if there's growth that's going to take away from the kind of growth you really want, get rid of it. So there's these lower branches on a tomato plant that aren't ever going to produce any fruit. They're taking some of the nutrients. Get rid of them. There's the suckers that keep you from having the fruit that you want to in the amount that you wanted, that if you don't take them off, you will diminish what you get. So prune. Same thing is true for the spiritual journey. But just an aside on this, we so often think, God, some God out there is going to prune us. I suggest that the divine within, which is you, is the one who prunes. So take responsibility for that. And take those unwanted things, the things that don't promote your growth, and eliminate them. We use the power of release as one of our 12 powers of unity. Originally, that power was called elimination. I think it just didn't take very well over the years, and so we changed it to release. But it is true that there are things to eliminate. We do this in our spiritual practice by denial. We talk about affirmations always, but before that affirmation, sometimes we need to engage in denial. That bit of saying, this has no power over me. What is it that you would eliminate to let your spiritual journey flourish? And then, if you would prune kind of alongside, sometimes what you have to do is to wait. If you've grown any kind of plant, you do know that an excess of attention sometimes is as bad as not enough. You water it too frequently, you just, whoops, I was trying to help that plant and I broke off a branch. And we give that so much attention, we focus on that, and maybe what couldn't happen or what might not happen, we don't allow the plant to grow. Same thing in our spiritual journey. Sometimes we have an excess of attention put on something that we don't want, and we don't grow. Because our focus is on what we don't want. So let it grow. Sometimes just wait and let it grow. Sometimes it's a matter of time. We say, oh, this is what I want. Now, please, yesterday. Doesn't work that way. Sometimes there is an appropriate time for everything. And so we draw back, not wanting to attach ourselves too closely to exactly the result we want, but allow for that to grow in good timing. Sometimes when you're in the garden, you have a germination time. And it says 55 days till harvest. And it germinates first. Sometimes it takes forever for that little seed to produce a plant. You just think, wow, man, it's not there. Maybe I should dig them all up and start all over again. And it's 2 days away from popping through the earth and being ready to its journey to growth and full maturity. So it takes time. And sometimes that 55 days stretches to 75 days. And if we jump off the ship before the timing that is right is allowed, we miss the whole benefit. So timing, just wait. We often talk about waiting in the silence, just allowing ourselves not to be so attached to time, but just to be there in the now, in the eternal now. So important if you would let your journey grow. And then finally, there's an art to wondering. There's a beauty and a truth in mystery. James Christian was a philosopher who wrote a book, I think in the 1970s sometimes, called Philosophy: An Introduction to the Art of Wondering. Can you be comfortable with wondering? Do you have to know now exactly what's going to happen? Do you have to, or can you just sit there and wonder? Can you imagine? That's part of wondering. Can you just allow the thing that you want to take the time that it needs to mature and burst into your life in full form? So we, over the last 3 weeks, have used what we call a polarity map. And Rick, if you would put up that one slide about polarity map. So we're going to have a revise the polarity map again. And let's see if we can find it. Go a little ahead. There we go. Thanks, Rick. So you notice this polarity map. If you haven't seen it before, it's that infinity symbol on its side. At the top is a positive approach to things. At the bottom is a negative. Up here is all sorts of good stuff. Down here is often fear, sometimes anger on the bottom. And on the very left here, we see growth. And on the very right, we see stasis. Stasis is a funny word. Don't use it too often, but I couldn't find a better one. Stasis is a state of inactivity. State of inactivity. Growth is moving upward, evolving, growing, becoming larger, getting more ready to produce a harvest. But sometimes we're in that side of the polarity map that is stasis. And sometimes it's okay to be there. Certainly okay to be there during the winter when you're planting. And you just allow things to be on that level. But eventually, as you come down, if you take that circle, come down to the bottom of that, which is more negative, you get stuck. You worry, you are fearful about certain things. And if you're in that stasis where there's no ability to change, you won't get to. And if you follow that up, that to this other side of the polarity map to growth, you'll find that you're in a place where you can plant, where you can protect, where you can prune and receive what it is that you decide. Now, there may be a time when you'll go back around that and you'll need that time to be quiet again. But today we're emphasizing this growth thing on the polarity map, and know that naturally it will come if we allow it to do so. Back to the beginning in my gardening experience, I couldn't wait for one of the simplest meals my mother ever made. That was new potatoes, fresh peas, and melted butter. Oh, there's nothing quite like that. But you know, it took a lot longer than I wanted. And it had to have the time to do that. And it was part of the process of the growth of the garden, that in the right season, everything would be ready to harvest. It would be perfect. And it was. So I challenge all of us today. Well, let me take just a minute. I take seriously these messages that I assign myself to do. And I think there's one thing in my life right now that I'm challenged with, and I'm challenged to use this. In February, we did a series on forgiveness. And that series on forgiveness spurred me to do a class. And we did a class to go along with the series on forgiveness. And out of that, I just knew that I was being challenged to write and put that in book form. I got really excited about it. But you know what? I've been somewhat distracted, and I haven't made the progress that I wanted. Because while I planted that seed and I got started with it, and I have outlines and I've written some somewhere, protect my time to be able to give to that pursuit. And it certainly was loath to, although I'm learning. I have a few people that read this with me, and they say, well, this doesn't exactly work for me. I have to come in and come back and prune that project. So my challenge right now, if I would let it grow, is The plant is done. The idea is there. But I move on to the second step of protecting the time, protecting that which I feel I'm called to do. So you can pray with me about that. I'd love you to pray with me about that. Just an example, but you all have the same thing for something you know that is yours to do. But maybe you haven't planted it yet. You got the idea, but you haven't really planted it. Or maybe you've planted it, but you haven't taken the pains to protect that you're called to do. Or eventually to prune it, to back off with your ego. And this is how I've conceived it. It's got to go like this. Well, we could have said that about this morning's service. It's got to go like this. Phil's got to be sitting there on the piano and singing. Well, you know, wasn't it really beautiful when we sang that first song, I Am the Radiant Life of God? We had Phyllis leading us vocally, and that was it. But if we didn't allow it, we'd gotten all frazzled and said, okay, no music today. It wouldn't happen. So you choose what it is in your life that is the real unique you coming to the fore. You choose that. I'm going to suggest one thing. How do we do it? Choose one thought that you have. One that's based on a divine idea. One thought that you have, you know that you are inspired by that thought. Take that one thought and ask yourself the question, how do I plant that seed, that thought in consciousness? And ask yourself the question, how do I protect that? And when necessary, how do I prune it? Let it grow. And so it is.
So now we will sing our meditation song and get ready for our meditation. And the song is He Leadeth, Healeth Me.
I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. Right here and right now, I'm at peace with myself. I'm quiet, I'm calm. I sang that on the way back when I couldn't find the power cord. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. Right here and right now, I'm at peace with myself. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm at ease. Right here and right now, I'm at peace with myself. I'm calm, I'm at ease.
Thank you, Phyllis. Let's observe the truth of that song. I'm quiet. Quiet. I choose to be calm. I experience ease as we enter this time of quiet, this time of stillness. We are quiet, calm, and at ease. So in this silence, we each of us look to the example of seed sown by a sower that comes back 100%. We envision a full harvest. We envision the excitement, yes, even the glory, the fullness of expression that we as divine beings show in this world. And as we anticipate that, as we expect that, in the silence, we ask ourselves some questions, and then we spend some time listening for the answers. What is mine to plant? What is mine to plant? And in the movie of our mind, we see ourselves planting those thought seeds, those thought emotions in our consciousness. And after some time, we see them poke up through the earth, poke up through our consciousness to manifest in infant form what we've planted. And now it's the time to protect that plant. We ask ourselves another question. How do I protect that seedling of spiritual growth? How do I protect that seedling? And in our mind's eye, we see the plant growing. We see our work of protection. We get ever closer to the harvest. But then we realize something is holding us back. Something we need to eliminate. And we ask ourselves the question, what is mine to eliminate? So that I may have what I intend. What is mine to eliminate? And the answers may not have all come right in these few minutes of quiet. But as we continue to entertain those questions, the answers will come. We do know. And so we bring ourselves and our awareness back to this time and this place, the here and the now. This world that surrounds us, our situation, the people that we are with, knowing that we're a step further on that spiritual journey. Because we've planted, we're protecting, and we're pruning. With orders from our divine self. Orders that we hear as we listen keenly. So come back now with your attention to this time. If you've gone a ways and deeply, wiggle your fingers and toes so you know you're back in this experience. And be grateful. And so it is.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Neal. So now is the time for us to share our gifts and offerings. And Reverend Neal would like to share with us some ideas that he has and some happenings that will be taking place at Unity of Payson.
Happy happenings.
Happy happening.
3 weeks from today, June 5th, we won't be here because your board has made a decision to accept the offer of Payson United Methodist Church to use their fellowship hall as our worship space. It's a wonderful space. The energy is great, and we are so excited to do that, and excited to connect with that community as well, who is really welcoming us to do this. So mark it on your calendars. Don't come here on June 5th. We won't be here if you're here in person. For those of you who are with us virtually, just know we're coming from a different place with a different energy and expect something good to happen. We are so grateful. I'm delighted for the work that the board has done in this process and for the opportunity that we have ahead. It's like we're planting a new seed. We expect great growth. And because this is the offering time, I just wanted to speak a little more. Today, Betty has brought our, if you're here in person, our latest board meeting minutes and financial report. It is our goal to be completely transparent with you. And so we want you to be aware of where we're at. We haven't grown as much as we would want to. As a matter of fact, I think there may have been some pests or something that have diminished us just a little bit. And so I ask you to take a look at your situation and see what you are called to do. Perhaps there's a special gift that you'd like to give at this time. We will have some expenses we'll incur for our move. If you're online, Donna is going to lead us in how to make a contribution online. If this ministry, these activities, these events are meaningful for you, and we know they are because you're here, ask what is yours to give to contribute to this. And we are grateful. And I'm going to hand it back to Donna.
Thank you, Reverend Neal. Unity of Payson greatly appreciates your support for this spiritual community and this ministry. And know that your gifts and tithes go out to the larger community as well. We tithe back to Unity Worldwide. As you listen, well, we won't be listening to the offering song, we'll probably be singing the offering song. But as we sing the offering song, the basket will be passed in person, and if you're attending virtually, information for giving is on the slides. Please go to unityofpayson.org, and in the menu, scroll till you get to donate/support and click on that. And it will take you to this screen right here. And there's a donate button. And you click on that. It's very easy. In fact, I can do it usually during the music. And so there's time to do that during the singing. So I invite you to bring your awareness and your attention and your intention to your heart at this time. You might want to place a hand or two on your heart. And breathe. And call to mind your heart's desires. What are your heart's desires with regard to this spiritual community? Imagine, and let's nurture our imagination about this. With gratitude for what we have and faith for what we want. The love in your heart is inexhaustible. As we connect with our source, our divinity, we open as a conduit to bless the world. And so now let us affirm together our affirmation for giving, which is freely we give and freely we receive. Together, freely we give and freely we receive. And now it is time for our offertory song.
Let's consider this a preview for when I can do it with the piano. I was so excited to do it with the piano because it's really upbeat. One of those old spiritual types, but a new song written by Mark Hayes, and it's a choral production that I made available for us to sing. So let's see what we can do with it. And I gotta have a little bit of piano voice going on, or we'll never make it. I don't know what's gonna happen. We don't have a tambourine or a drum handy. We do? Yeah. All right, Betty. I don't know. That might help. I'll do a little bit of beat with it. Well, while she's getting there, I'm gonna give you the tune. It's only I gotta have it, or we'll never make it. This is the piano. Oh, the piano. So thank you, Betty. Betty has it handy just in case that we might need it. And I don't know, I'm not used to all these bangles. So that's it. And don't help me, or I'll get really, really lost. Okay, it's Spirit come down like the days of old. Spirit come down and fill my soul. Lord, I want to be used by you to feel your power in all I do. Spirit come down. soul. Now on the day of Pentecost, the disciples of the Lord were in one place. And suddenly from heaven on high came the sound of the mighty wind. That mighty wind then filled the place, and the Spirit appeared like tongues of fire, took control of everyone, filling them with power. Spirit, come down like the days of old. Spirit, come down and fill my soul. Lord, I want to be used by you to feel your power in all I do. Spirit, come down and fill my soul. There were people there from every land, if they heard God's word in their native tongue. For the Spirit helped them understand the mighty word of the Lord. Spirit, come down like the days of old. Spirit, come down and fill my soul, and fill my soul. Lord, I want to be used by you. Feel your power in all I do. Spirit, come down. Fill my soul, and fill my soul. Spirit, come down like the days of old. Spirit, come down and fill my soul. I want to be used by you. Feel your power in all I do. Spirit, come down. Spirit, come down. Spirit, come down and fill my soul.
Hey. Wonderful. Yes, yes. Let's say yes to that. So now it's time for the dedication of our offering. We're grateful for these gifts. We're grateful for the givers. Let's see these gifts returning to the givers tenfold. As we say together, divine love through us blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. We are abundantly prosperous, and we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
So we want to connect with everybody. So we're going to take a moment for connection time. First of all, Rick, if you can drop the screen share and put on gallery view for us so we can see those. And if you're with us virtually, it'll be helpful if you will put on your camera, your video, so we can see you. We'd love to see your smiling face. And I just want to recognize those who are here virtually. Of course, Donna, who's been our platform person. Kathy Hicken is here. That says Thomas's iPad, but and Rainbow Gal, that's Joy from
That's me. Hello.
Colorado, and Frosty from down in the valley. Tom is really here, so he's here twice, and I'm here twice, and Barbara is here, and Kaya Hudson, and I want to particularly welcome Robert. I'm delighted that you're with us today. thank you for being here. And now we're going to turn the camera on everybody who's here. If you look at that, there's Rick. We're looking at Rick, who's done ADB duty, and Tom behind him also doing AD duty.
Good job today, Rick.
We saw Scott and Claudette back there. Now Betty, yeah, everybody can wave while they're going along. And as we move along, Marion and all the way back is Debbie and Joanne and Charlotte is here. I'm just delighted that all of you, did I get everybody? Oh, Marianne's in the back there. Didn't mean to miss you, Marianne. You were hiding behind Joanne. So we're delighted that everybody's here and glad to connect you in our virtual community with those of you who are here in person. And I'll get back in focus here.
Can I say something? Neal, Reverend Neal.
Yes, go ahead, Donna. You've got anybody making a comment or something you'd like to share?
I just wanted to share that there were a few other people that were on here virtually before our connection time. And I just want to recognize Terry was here, Sandy was here, and Kay Butler was here also.
Thank you.
And Ram.
Ron. Our board. So go ahead, Donna, I guess. All yours.
I'll mute again.
And Donna, you, if you can unmute, we'll hear you back.
Oh, I was unmuted, but somehow I got muted again. Okay, so next Sunday's speaker is Reverend Julianne Lewis. We're continuing with our May theme of letting go, and her talk title is Ego, Let It Go. So I'll share a few announcements with you, and there are many things happening. Again, please check our website at unityofpayson.org or the Monday email newsletter. All meetings are on Zoom unless otherwise noted, and love offerings are accepted. So we have A Course in Miracles coming up Tuesday, May 17th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Course in Miracles meets first and third Tuesdays on Zoom. We also have our Prayer Chaplains meeting coming up this Thursday, May 19th at 11 a.m. It's on the third Thursday of each month on Zoom. And we have a PS from Reverend Neal.
I don't want to keep you much longer, but next Sunday will be very special because Reverend Julianne Lewis, whom we love here at Unity of Payson, will be with us. And if you've not met her, if you're with us online and you don't know her, be here because she is a blessing to us, and she will be here in person. So that'll be delightful for us who are in person, who can see her, but then you who are here virtually will have the opportunity as well. Take advantage of all of these activities. We are doing a lot of stuff, and pick the ones that appeal to you, that just tug at you, and come and join us. Even if you haven't done it before, it's not such a scary process. Come and join a couple of in-person events, the gathering, fun and games, and the rest I think are virtual at this point. And so we're mixing it up. Bless you all, and it's time for us to close our service. And if you're here in person, would you stand? And if you're here virtually, you can stand if you like to, but you can still sit. And we will go ahead and do the peace song and our prayer for protection.
Yes, there is peace. peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that is meant to be. With God, as Creator, our family are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, this is my joyous thought. I take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace, and yes, it begins with me.
Now the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. And the presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Thank you all for the next thing.
The light of God surrounds us.
Well, Rick, you got your baptismal fire there?
We had a 10-second. It got better when the line dropped down to 6. So it would come up here and I started.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.
Even for me,